By special request, we are going to go through 10.4.3. This has been a little bit challenging for folks, and I want to make sure we can walk through it so that we can kind of take a peek at how you would get started with this. These simulations, of course, they're not perfect. So, sometimes you have to kind of play around with it and figure some things out. I'm also learning that probably I need to just figure out what you guys might need to get a little hint here or there too. So, okay, so let's just start with this. This is the one exercise, and there's others, that you can actually reset the activity until you get to this one. Okay, this one seems to work pretty well, and so does the one that says college. But we're just going to work with the one on our screen right now. So your directions say that you need to fill out this addressing table. And when you don't know the addresses, that can become a bit of a challenge. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through what we need to do. Our objectives here are to complete the network documentation, which is that table above, perform basic device configuration on a router and a switch, verify connectivity and troubleshoot any issues that we have. And so basically what we're going to do, you can read the scenario on your own, but we're going to do all of these requirements together. And then once we're finished, everything should work. The part that I'm going to let you do on your own is the actual pinging to test connectivity, which should be from user 1 to user 4. You should be able to ping through your entire network, 1 to 3, and then of course 4 to 1, 4 to 2, 3 to 2, 3 to 1. Like you should be able, each of these PCs should be able to ping the other PCs in the network. If that is the case, then you should truly have connectivity. So let's just take a quick peek here at how we would get started with this. In this exercise, you have access to one router and one of your switches. This other switch, if you click on it, it's going to say configure is locked. That means you cannot do anything on that particular switch. Also, I want to kind of make you aware of this because this has caused me huge frustration in the past. So I don't want this to happen to you. But this little checkbox here that says top will leave your directions up on top of your screen, which is great for demonstration purposes like here. But if you click something that pops up behind this window, you cannot get back out of it, okay, which is infuriating. I mean, literally had to restart my computer because I made that mistake. So let me just, caution you here, okay? So let's go ahead and start. How are we going to start this? Well, first of all, we are going to take a look at our network topology to figure out exactly what our network looks like. We know we have this router and we have access to this switch. We don't have access to this switch. And then on the other side of the switch, each switch, we have 2 users. Now, what we need to know is our networking address. And you're thinking, well, how would I know that? Here is a clue for you. All right, 128.107.20.0 with a subnet mask, a 24-bit subnet mask, which is 255.255.255.0. This is our network. This is this side of the network, okay? So this is a network ID. So again, you can't use that number. That's a network ID. And on the other side, we have the same thing, 128.107.30.0. So this is the .30 network. This is the .20 network. And then underneath, you have an IP version 6 address so that you kind of have an idea what scheme to use there. Now, if you don't know what your interfaces are, because that's the next thing, if you look over on your documentation, you're like, wait a minute, how do I know what interface is what? What you need to do is you can click anywhere in this white space and then hover, don't click, but just hover over top of your arrows or your triangles that are in your network, and you'll see that it tells you what network interface you're working with. Okay, if you accidentally click those, it's going to disconnect. And then again, you'll probably have to restart the activity because the packet tracer won't let you reconnect it. Again, I've made that mistake, so I know. So let's get started. We are going to start with what we know. Anytime that you have a problem and you don't quite know how to get started, what you do is you start with what you know. Okay, we already talked about we know what the addressing scheme is for this network and this network. So what we're going to do is we're going to make an assumption. And we are going to assume that gigabit 0/0 on the .20, the 20.0 network, we're going to use a .1 as our host number. Oftentimes routers will use the first host as their number just for good management so we know what it is. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make that assumption right out of the gate. So I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to start with looking at my requirements for this project. You see I'm at 0% completion. So as we do each of these, we will monitor our completion rate until we get close to the end. And then once we get to the end, if we haven't solved everything yet, we'll use our check results to see what we need to do next. So you can do this either way, but I'm going to start with RTA. Whoops. I'm going to go to the command line interface, and I'm going to pull that window right here. I'm also going to open up ASW2, my switch, the command line interface, and I'm going to put it right here. Now I have to do my Alt Tab because I don't dare want to put top on all of these because I feel certain if I do, I am definitely going to have a problem. So here's what we're going to do first. We are going to, I know it says provide missing information in the addressing table, and I'm going to ask that you write this down. I'm not actually going to put it up on the screen, but what I want you to do right now for your G0/0, we know that's this one. So we know that's going to be 128.107.20.1. And then our G0/1 is going to be 128.107.30.1. So we have a start. We know we don't need a default gateway because this is a router, so that's not going to help us at all. And we're going to start there. So here I am on my router RTA. I'm going to hit my return button. I'm going to go into enable mode. And so I am going to start with what my requirements are. Let's go down and look at them. Name the router and the second switch. Okay, let's give it a name. So I need to go into global config mode, and I'm going to do hostname RTA. Now, at least when I can see my command prompt, I will know what device I'm on. Okay, I'm going to go over to my switch, and I am going to do the same thing. Hostname, and the host name of this switch is ASW-2. Oh, what did I do wrong? I did not go in global config mode. So, you know what? I hope when you guys watch me and I make mistakes, you'll realize real quick, guess what? No, it's easy to make a mistake. Just make sure you read what's on the screen so you know how to correct it. Okay, so I have done that. Name the router and the second switch. Done. Okay, the next thing is use Cisco as the exec password for all lines and use class as the encrypted privilege exec password. Let's do it. Enable password Cisco. Let's see, enable secret class. All right, so I'm going to go over here and do the same thing. Enable password Cisco, enable secret class. All right, now it says, oh, so I have to do all my lines too, and all lines. So let's go over here, line con 0, password Cisco, login. Remember, if we don't do login, we will never be able to use our console port. Line VTY 04 for our telnet lines. Password Cisco, login. All right, I'm going to do the same thing on my switch. Password line con 0, password Cisco, line VTY 04, password Cisco, and then we're going to do service password encryption. Password service encryption. I always get this wrong. ENCRY. Okay, there, that's correct. Since it wasn't giving me the tab, I thought I was doing it wrong. Service password dash encryption. Okay, so we've encrypted our plain text passwords, and now we're going to do our banner message of the day. And we're just going to keep it simple for this demonstration. Authorized use only, not user, use only. Sorry, I'm typing a bit fast. Banner message of the day. Authorized use only. There we go. So we have that done, and we notice we're up to 23% on our completion, so we're making progress. And now we need to start configuring some IP addresses. And so this is the part where I know everybody goes, oh gosh, I'm so nervous about this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start over here on my router, and I am going to say config, I'm sorry, we're already in config t, int G0/0. Now notice how I just did int, okay? You guys are doing interface, right? You can use your tab key and have the iOS populate that for you, or you can just use the first 3 letters. So I've done this enough that I usually shortcut things because I like to do that. So here's my interface, G0/0, and so I am going to do IP address. Let's see, what is our IP address? 128.107.20.1. Okay, so remember that is your address up here, 128.107.20. Our first host address will be a .1. You just need to make sure you're on the right interface, and I am. I'm on G0/0. And then I have to give it a subnet mask, 255.255.255.0. There we go. That is done. Now what we need to do is do a no shut on that interface. And you see here that the line protocol is coming up. And if you notice you don't have command prompt or anything there, you can actually still go ahead and type your next command without that being there. The command line interface knows what you want to do, okay? Or you can press enter to get your command line prompt back and then start typing from there. So now I'm going to my other side of my interface, G0/0, and I'm going to type IP address 128.107.30.1. Again, this is my 30 network. I'm going to use .1. I know that I'm using a 24-bit subnet mask, so that's 255.255.255.0. Again, I'm going to press enter. I'm going to say no shut. Okay, so now I have done both of those items. I've put in my IP version 4 addressing. I also have to put in my IP version 6 addressing. So on my IP version 6, we are going to do the 2001. So it's not binary, it's hex. 2001:DB8:A, and then we're going to say ::1. So this one will be 2001:DB8:B::1. That's going to be our first host. Okay, so we're going to do that real quick. And the way that one thing that we do need to do that is easy to forget, I just almost forgot it, is if I'm going to use IP version 6, I do need to say IPv6 unicast. I think I do it here, unicast routing. Was there a dash in that? Might be a dash. Okay, it took it, yes. IP version 6 unicast routing. So what I want to do is go to my interface G0/0, and I am going to put in my IP version 6 address, version 6 address, and that's going to be 2001:DB8:A::1. So I'm going to use the first available host there. Oh, and I need to say /64 because I am using a /64 subnet. So there is that. And then I can go over, before I do that though, I do know I'm going to need to do this somewhere. Let me just read this real quick. Document interfaces with descriptions. So while I'm already on this interface, I am going to say description, and I'm going to say this is my RTA, this is G0/0, and that is connected to ASW-1. So I'm just going to say connection to ASW-1. And I don't think I need to do another no shut, but I'm just that particular. I'm just going to say no shut. So that should have everything done for that particular interface. Oh, no, it does not. Oh, my goodness. No, it does not. Guess what I didn't do? IP version 6 address FE80::1 link local. There we go. So again, that interface should be up and running, so I shouldn't have to say no shut. All right, so now I'm going to jump over to my interface G0/1, And I'm going to do basically the same thing. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and use my up arrow and say IP address. And we know this is going to be B:::1. So there's my IP version 6 address. Here is going to be my link local. Again, I'm just using my up arrow. And here is going to be my description. And I'm going to say ASW2. All right, so all that should be done. And you see we're already up to 56% completion. So good job there. We're going to issue the no shut because I think I had already done it, but again, just making sure that interface is up and running. And actually you can look at these green triangles and know that is the case. We do have connectivity. Adding the command in extra doesn't hurt anything, so we won't worry about it, but that was really not necessary. Okay, so we have that done. We've got our IP version 4, version 6 addressing for the switch according to the table. Now we do need to go over and configure our VLAN. Let's see. The hosts are partially configured to complete the IP version 4 addressing and fully configure the IP version 6 addresses according to the address table. We're going to take a look at those in just a moment. First of all, I'm going to jump over here on my switch because I'm sure I have some other things to do on my switch. Let's see, I've configured my lines. Let's see, I want to go ahead and do my VLAN 1. Now, I will tell you with this VLAN, your activity did not give you good information here. So this, if you got this VLAN wrong, don't fret, but I'm going to say IP address, and I'm going to say it's going to be 128.107.20, nope, .30. I did this last time, .30.15. I don't know why I tried to put it on the .20 network, but let me just explain something here to you. I've already stepped through this once, so I do know that this should in fact work, but this 128.107.30. whatever, I have to pick a number that's not being used anywhere else. So you would not necessarily be able to configure this yet until you've looked at your network. I kind of did peek in at your network, so I know that this is a valid number, and I had to play with it a little bit to see what the simulator wanted. So I'm just giving you this number. Otherwise, you could choose a number that's not in use, and you do want to be careful about what you choose, but we're just going to go ahead and say that that is our IP address. All right, that put us up to 60% complete. So we have our VLAN configured. One thing that we didn't do, I'm going to go back over on my router for just a moment. I'm going to exit out of here. I am going to go here and say copy, run, start. Okay, and I'm going to come over here on my switch and do the same thing, give it a couple exits, and then copy, run, start. All right, because it wants you to save your startup config. So we're up to 64% complete. I know there might be something that I'm forgetting in this, in this little mess. I'm going to take this checkbox off just in case I make a mistake along the way. And now we're going to go look at the rest of your network. Okay, we know we can't access this switch, but let's take a look at user 01. What do we know about user 01? If we go to desktop and IP config, we see that this address is 128.107.20.25. So 128.107.20, that is a valid host number. It does have the correct subnet mask, so we need to fix or put in the default gateway. And we know what our default gateway is because that is the interface of the router. So we're going to put that in. That's going to be 128.107.20.1. Okay, and we also need to give this an IP version 6 address. So that should be 2001 colon DB8, DB8 colon A colon, and we're going to give this the number 2 with a /64. And I chose 2 because this is 1. We're going to make this one 2, and let's see if that works. Okay, so that should be good for this particular host. I'm going to go ahead and close this one up. Oh, wait. We will need a IP version 6 gateway, FE80::1. And remember, this is not routable. This link local address, not the gateway, I'm sorry, but this link local address is a non-routable number. So just want to make sure I reiterate that. Okay, let's go to user number 2. Let's take a look at its IP address, 128.107.20.30. Okay, that is a valid host number, has the correct subnet mask. Our first one was 20, right? I gotta just double check this real quick. I didn't write it down. It's 25. Okay, good. So this one can be 30. That's correct. Again, I'm going to put in my default gateway, which is 128.107.20.1. Okay, because that's the same number as my router interface. I'm going to give this an IP version 6 address, 2001:db8:A::. That would be 1, 2, 3. We'll give this number 3, and that's going to be a 64. We're going to give it an IP version 6 gateway, which our gateway is FE80::1. Okay, so that host should be properly configured. So I should be able to, let's just try this. Let's do a ping, and let's ping 128.107.20. Let's start with 1. That's my router. Okay, I've got replies from my router. That's excellent. Then let's go to my user 01. Okay, not pinging. That is the correct number, right? 128.107.20.2. 128.107.20.2. Is it 20.2? Wait, it's not .2. That's why. This number is .25, 20.25. After I thought about that a minute, I'm like, wait a minute, that's not right. So let me find my ping again. And we're going to say 25. That should work. There we go. So we're able to ping. User 2 can ping RTA and user 1. We're going to make the assumption that user 1 can ping user 2 and RTA as well, but we can check it if we'd like. What we are going to do, let's do this. Let's go ahead and move on to user 3. And then if we have a problem, we'll go back. So we're going to take a look at the IP address of user 3. And they have an IP address of 128.107.30.25. Let's see, 128.107.30.25. Yes, that is a good valid host with a 255.255.255.0. Let's put in our default gateway, 128.107.30.1. And then let's put in our IP version 6 address. And in this case, it's going to be 2001:db8:B, because this is the B address, : and we are going to say, I almost said 1, this is going to be 2, and then this is going to be a /64. We're going to put in our gateway, which is FE80::1, and that should be it for user number 3. Okay, let's pick user number 4 now. Let's go look at its IP address. Okay, it has an IP address of 10.10.10.102. Okay, that's a problem. That is not a valid IP address on this network. Our address has to start with 128. So let's just mimic what we just did on the other side of our network. We had a 25 and a 30. So let's just do the same thing here. Let's do 128.107.30.30. And we have the correct subnet mask, 255.255.255.0. Let's put in our default gateway of 128.107.30.1. Again, that's the address of this side of the router. And now let's put in an IP version 6 address, 2001, colon, DB8, colon, B, and then colon, colon, and we know this one's going to be, we have a 1, a 2, that will make this one 3, and slash 64. And we need to remember our default gateway, FE, keep 0, colon, colon, 1, and in the simulator, always make sure you click off of things because I think that's what helps it save. We're going to say, okay. So theoretically, I should be able to, if I remember my IP addresses correctly, ping. I'm going to try to ping all the way over to user 1 right now. I'm going to ping 128.107. I might be missing something, but 20. All right, so that was 1. That was 25. I believe that's right. 128.107.20.25. Let's hope that works. And sometimes the first one will time out and then it will go just like that. So don't panic if you get a timeout and then it replies. That's perfectly normal. Okay, let's do this. Let's jump over and see where we are with things. Okay, we are at 93 cents. Listen to me. 93% complete. So let's figure out what we didn't get right, or what we didn't finish yet. I don't know if I saved my configurations. I think I did. You know what I'm going to do though? I'm going to go ahead and do a copy run start because I may have changed some things since then. Do it on both of those real quick. Copy run start. And now let me go back over to check my results. I'm still at 93. Let's do check results. Be careful not to hit reset activity or you might be very angry at yourself. Okay, here's what we didn't do. This is great. At least we know. On ASW2, I did not do my line con 0, and I did not put a description or turn on my port status for VLAN 1. So I have very little to do, which is great. Let's go to the switch 2 and do our line console, put a description on the VLAN and turn it on. So let's do that. ASW2, just do our line console. So config T, I thought I did all this, but you know what? Maybe I didn't. Config T, and then we're going to do a line con 0, password Cisco, login. Remember, if you don't put that login, you're not going to get into that port. Okay, now let's go to interface VLAN 1. Let's put in a description, and I'm just gonna say VLAN 1. If you have multiple VLANs, you could put in a description like finance VLAN or bookstore VLAN or whatever, just something so you know what it is. I'm going to do a no shut on that. And now let's give it just a quick second and let's head back over and check our results. We are now at 100%. Okay, so we can check our results, assessment items. Everything has been completed now. So I hope that quick walkthrough helped you understand how to do this lab. Sometimes you just got to get started. And I will tell you that if you missed the one that said VLAN 1 IP address, I had to play with that and see what it wanted. That's not something that you could have picked any number. They chose one, and if you didn't pick the same one, it counted it wrong. So if you got everything else right, though, you should really pat yourself on the back, and you did a great job. So if you have any questions, let me know, but I hope this quick walkthrough of this lab helped you.